Hello everybody, my name's Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is all about how to start living below your means, so don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So, do you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck? Do you perhaps earn a good income but still find that by the end of the month there is still nothing left? Then you are probably living beyond your means, and there are so many reasons why that could be, and you are not alone in this scenario, so don't feel that you are. But there are lots of ways that we can kind of look at just how we're living and to try and change that for the better so that you can live within your means, start investing and better your financial journey. There are various signs that you might be living beyond your means, and these could be such as you rely on a credit card when you are especially getting towards the end of the month. You might feel that you use the credit card more and more often to buy everyday essentials, so nothing extravagant, nothing over the top, just everyday life. You maybe don't have an emergency fund in place. Now, emergency funds can differ vastly from person to person, but everybody should have some kind of emergency savings to fall back on if something goes wrong, and they are for emergencies only. And I've got other videos on how to create emergency funds no matter what your starting point, but maybe you don't have any kind of emergency savings. And on the back of that, maybe you aren't able to save any money at all every month, so you can't put anything into that emergency fund, you can't put anything into kind of more longer term aims, you can't put anything into different sinking funds because there's nothing there. You are buying large expensive items that perhaps A, might be impulsive, B, you haven't planned for, as in they're not part of your budget but you're buying them anyway. Maybe not impulsive, but they're still something that isn't factored into your monthly budget, and also they are things that maybe don't suit your actual lifestyle but you've bought them anyway. And linked to that is that you're impulse spending without any thought to the consequences, so you might see something that you really like and buy it there and then and not think about what might happen once you bought that item, especially if there isn't actually the money there in the first place to buy that. Now, this is very different to living beyond your means because your budget and your income and your circumstances are such that that doesn't marry up. This is different to you living beyond your means, but there are ways that you could, and the income isn't the stepping stone that's at issue there. So that's a different video again. But for this one, this is living beyond your means, but there are easy ways for you to do something about it so that you can focus and prioritise your longer term financial aims. And if you haven't already, please give this video a like and a thumbs up, because it really helps the algorithm and helps my channel to grow. So if that all sounds like you, and believe me, you're not alone in this scenario at all, then stick around because I've got lots of tips to share with you that might help you on your financial journey so that you are more aware of what your spending is like, where your money goes, and how to prioritise it so you get what you want without getting into financial difficulties along the way. Number one is to assess your current lifestyle and your spending habits. No matter how difficult that might be, you need to know your income. You need to know how much you bring in first of all, and knowing what your base figure is, as in the kind of the minimum that you bring in every month. If it fluctuates, there's different ways to work that out. Should be kind of common knowledge. You should know how much you earn and you should know how much arrives in your bank account every month, because how can you possibly make any change if you don't know that number? The second aspect of knowing that number is then tracking your spending, no matter how painful that is. And believe me, the first time you track your spending for a month is so eye-opening, and that's the point. The point is, because if you knew all about this and you knew where your money was going and you knew what you're spending on, you'd assume there wouldn't be some kind of miscommunication between the two. If you don't know where your money goes and what you earn in the first place, tracking this will help you. So if you're not new here, you'll know that I love my budget planner. If you're new here, I use a pen and paper method. I've got a budget planner. I designed it purely because I couldn't find one that worked for me. And so I designed it, and it's so simple to use. And the aspect of writing that down, A, makes me think about spending money in the first place because I don't want to write down loads of stuff. But second of all, the visual representation, especially as the month goes on and I get less and less left in the pot, does make me think twice. But I also know where it's going. So if you're new to this, then look through your bank statement, your credit card statements, whatever you spend your money on for the past month, and write it all down. Categorise it into different things, so food shopping, travel, miscellaneous, household, children, pets, sports, anything that you need to put it into a category so that you can work out overall where your expense goes, go for it. There's no set number of expense categories that you should have. There are fixed and variable expenses, yes, but everybody's circumstances are different, so work out just where your money goes, and that, the two numbers there, the income and the spending numbers, are your first step to changing your entire financial journey, but the knowledge and the reflection of that process is there. Step number 2 is to budget. Now, I know that when you mention the word budget to most people, they think of the fact that it's restrictive, it deprives them of something, and they don't want to do it, and it's complicated and it takes a long time. No, it is none of those things. A budget is there so that you can prioritise where your money goes, you know what's coming in, and you know that you're not spending money on stuff that does not align with your financial priorities and your financial goals, because you are making that intentional choice of where your money goes. Now, again, I've already spoken, I use a budget planner, I use the zero-based budget method. I'll leave a link below to the blog post where I've got that, and a free budget overview page that you can download to try and work that out for yourself. But basically every single penny of my income is put somewhere. Short-term goals, long-term goals, emergency fund, everything is accounted for so that I know that my money that I work really hard for goes to where I want it to go. And in your budget, if you've got debt repayments, that also needs to be in there somewhere, because they should be a priority. Getting rid of debt should be your number one priority. Yes, build an emergency fund, but you need to be debt free. It is such a chain around your neck if you've got debt that you are carrying along and along. And yes, it can be stressful, and yes, it might take a long time, but the achievement you will get when you finally pay off that final debt, you'll be so proud of yourself for doing that and managing that and finding a way forward when you didn't think was possible. Yes, it kind of maybe makes you look at yourself and what are you spending money on, and the deeper aspect of what triggers you to spend money. But in your budget, if you've got debt, that needs to be in there as well. And also, your budget needs to work for you. So I've found a budget planner system works for me. That combined with a cash envelope system that I use works. If you're someone who prefers a spreadsheet, use that. If you're someone who prefers an app, use that. Personal finance is just that, it's personal. You need to find a system that works for you and makes it easy. A budget shouldn't be difficult. I posted recently on TikTok, of all places, because I'm down with the kids apparently, about my 10-minute budget routine, and it is just that. It shouldn't take long. Once you've got the systems in place, a budget is not depriving you of anything, it's not restrictive, or if it is, you've not got your category or the balances right yet. And it does mean you're being intentional with your money and more mindful about that, and that's only a positive step in your financial journey. The third step to living below your means, and this does link to the first two steps, is you need some kind of financial plan. You need goals for what you want your money to do for you. So if you're new here, I talked for a long time about early retirement, and then my life has changed, and early retirement has had to take a back seat purely because I just don't have the mental capacity to talk about that or think about that or even know if I'm going to be able to do that anymore. However, having a distinctive financial goal and then financial plan, i.e. the steps you're going to take to get there, means that you are already 50% more committed to making that happen purely because you put a plan in place. So have a financial plan. What are you going to do in the next 12 months? What are you going to do in the next 5 years? And then what are you going to do in the next 10 years? Like short term, medium term, long term. Short term things, if you've not got an emergency fund in place, have to include that. But short term goals, sinking funds if you want to call them that. I do regular videos on my own sinking funds. If you want to watch some of those for inspiration, then feel free. 5 years time, what do you want your finances, your financial grounding, your you're halfway through to your 10-year goal. What do you want that to look like? And then 10 years down the line, in an ideal world, I suppose, where would you see yourself then? When you've got a plan of what you want to be or where you want to be in 10 years time, you can then go backwards and work out just how you're going to get there. Because then if it's just not, it's not just numbers on a page, then you've got actionable numbers to work with, but you've also got the steps in place to be able to achieve that. So I talk a lot about dividend income. I'm slowly building that again, very slowly building that again. But I know that my first step to that is to get £100 a month on average, then £250 a month on average, then £500 a month on average. And then I look at the steps that I would need, how much I need to invest, what I need to reinvest, what am I buying stocks in. All that kind of stuff then links to the, right, well, I've hit £100 a month average. And I know that with time and with focus and with the right mindset, that I will get there eventually, even if it takes so much longer than I thought it was going to be. It's still a plan, it's still a goal, and I'm actively taking steps to get there. Having short and medium and long-term goals will help you in terms of motivation, because you can see that within 12 months you've achieved this, this, this and this. And then that spurs you on to say, well, in 5 years' time I'm going to achieve this, this, this and this. And then in 10 years' time, the possibilities in that sense are endless. It just depends on how much you really want it. And so it is all about mindset shifts, focusing it and being intentional and making sure your money goes where you want it to go, not where companies tell you it should go. Probably another video all about that at some point. Step number 4 is to monitor your spending. And the reason for this is, so it links back to all of these, and I'm going to repeat the same thing, but intentional is the word for this video. If you monitor your spending, you are looking at if you're being intentional with your money. Do you really need to spend X, Y and Z on something else? Does that align with your financial goals and your financial kind of journey? If it does, great, spend it. If it doesn't, and maybe that might tip you over the edge, it might make your budget too tight, it might make other things, you might need to wriggle things around a bit to make room for that. No, it doesn't align with being intentional about your spending. And therefore, once you've monitored that, you then can make changes to reduce the spending in the categories that aren't important to you, or what will become apparent that aren't important to you, and make sure you're spending money where you want to. So for example, for me, and I talk about this all the time, this isn't a secret, half of my motivation for doing any of this, the side hustles, the sinking funds, anything that brings me extra money in, because all of my side hustle income funds my sinking funds, which then helps my financial journey. All of that is motivated by the fact that I want to have experiences with my children, to make memories with them, so that they'll remember that later on. They're not going to remember that I bought them the latest toy from whatever thing they're watching. They'll remember it in the short term. Yeah, sure, they'll have it for the short term. 5 years' time, there's no chance. But they'll remember when we went to the theme park and did what? We're going to Disneyland this next week. They'll remember that, hopefully, for quite a long time. The making memories bit is important to me. That is my intentional spending. Yes, I probably spend quite a lot of money on experiences and things for my children, but that's what's important to me. If you don't have children, obviously that wouldn't be important to you, but then you'd have different intentional categories of spending. It's all about what aligns for you and what works for you as a family, as an individual, however you want to word that. You are intentionally spending, be mindful of where your money is going, so that it works for you, so that it just doesn't disappear into the black hole of everyday life, which is very, very easy to do, especially in this day and age. And when you monitor your spending and monitor where it goes, you can then reduce the silly everyday spending that we all do, that isn't really necessary, that doesn't really help us, that is impulsive, and that links back to a previous point. And therefore, once you've minimised that spending in unnecessary categories, you then have more money to put into your intentional categories. You are making that change, that shift in perception, that shift in mindset, that really makes it so that you're spending money in a way that aligns for your future financial journey. And once you start doing that and see the change and see just how powerful that can be, your own intentional choice around spending money, there's no going back from that. Because you'll know how good that feels, that you are in control of something, you have the chance to change that. You aren't wasting money on stuff that really doesn't hold much importance, and you're making steps to a better future for you financially. Now, I could make a video on a channel called The Frugal Cottage without mentioning this. Step number 5 is frugal living. No, it doesn't mean cheap. No, it doesn't mean tight. Frugal living is about living simply on a budget that you can afford. Notice I don't say a small budget. Your budget could be massive if you earn loads of money. But frugal living is about the simple things in life are so much better. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't make things hard work for the sake of making things hard work. Enjoy the processes. Frugal living for me is all about living, again, mindfully and taking time to appreciate the small things, the little things, especially now. Like, I love kind of going in the garden and just listening to the birds sing, because I live in a place where they come and feed off the bird feeder that I've got in the garden. Take time. Frugal living is not about being the cheapest person on earth, because that would be weird, or tight, because there's no joy in that at all. Frugal living, so I've got a blog post, a really popular blog post that I'll link down below, and it's called Deprivation is Not Part of the Journey. And in that blog post I talk about how the fact that frugal living is often portrayed as, well, you must be depriving yourself of something, or you must only eat rice and beans, and oh, you poor children, are they not missing out? No, because frugal living isn't about that, because no one would do it if it was, unless absolutely utterly necessary, and then that would be a fairly miserable existence. Frugal living is all about taking things back to basics, and I'll link below to that blog post, because it was quite a personal blog post reflecting on how I feel about frugal living, but how I feel about every time I mention it, people think that I must be depriving myself and my children, and that's so far from the case. But frugal living is such a mindset shift against consumerism and against what we are supposed to need all the time, because we don't need 99% of stuff. They're just big corporations telling us that we need all that. Again, a whole nother video, I'm not going to get into that now. But yeah, I've got lots of videos about frugal living on this channel, so don't forget to check them out after this, because honestly, it's such a good way to live. Step 6 links into this as well. So step 6 is about mindset. So mindset plays a massive part in your entire financial journey. From the minute you decide to make that change, no matter how hard or complicated or scary or whatever word you want to use there, mindset plays a massive role in that. You need to be positive about the journey. Again, sometimes it's not going to be easy. You know, if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I am the first person to say when things aren't easy, and I'd be the first person to admit that the past 2 years have been anything but. However, by doing little challenges along the way, so I've got like some savings challenges, so when I can tick one little square off those, that's a good thing. When I've got some money left at the end of the week and I can put it into a sinking fund, that's a good thing. It might not be very much, in fact it might not be anything at all, but the little things along the way, being positive, celebrating those little, and they could be really tiny. I remember celebrating my first ever dividend payment, and I think it was £11. But that £11 at that time could have been £1 million for what it represented, because I'd not done anything to earn that. It was passive income, literally passive income. I'd done nothing to earn it. But if you told me, why are you so happy over £11? Yeah, £11's not going to get me very much, that's absolutely true, but the principle was that I'd made the start and I'd made that first step, and it was showing, literally showing dividends in my bank account that showed that I'd made that positive first step. Mindset is all about changing how you think, and if you think positively about the journey, not that you're restricting yourself, not that you're suddenly living on a budget, not that you're suddenly having to say no to all these things, but you can do this. It's just a change in, it's a change in mindset so that you can prioritise where your money goes. So I journal quite a lot. I've got a journal that I write a lot of stuff down in, and even the time that takes, I try and find at least one thing that I'm grateful for, or one thing that I feel positive about during the day, because even on the darkest of days, something during that 24 hours has it made me smile or made me feel grateful, or I can focus on the fact that it's positive even if I don't feel like it. So mindset is a big one. Have a look at your own concept of what you think living on a budget and living below your means actually means. Step 7, and this I guess maybe contradicts the rest, but it's not supposed to. If you really are struggling with living below your means, this, I guess I'm a prime example of this. Step 7 is you could make extra money. If your expenses are that tight that there is no room for getting emergency funds in place, no room for short-term goals, and you can't possibly see a way of cutting your budget any further, because you can only cut it so far before existence and kind of life in general is fairly miserable, then perhaps look at bringing in some extra money. I'm not saying that this would be easy. It isn't, but again, it's if you've got time in an evening. One of the easiest things I found, and again, I'm not actively doing this at the moment because just of a time management thing, one of the easiest ones to do from home is being a virtual assistant. I'll leave a link below. I've got a ebook about being a virtual assistant. I loved being that, and I at some point hope to get back to doing that. That purely for me is a time management thing. But if you've got lots of time on an evening and you're just kind of sat, have a look at making some money whilst you're sat. And being a VA, so virtual assistant, if you've got a phone and an internet connection, you can do that from there. So yeah, have a look at, that's one example of lots of things. You could do YouTube, you could do Etsy, you could do all kinds of social media. It's just figuring out a way of how maybe you could do some extra income, side hustles, and you don't have to show your face. There's lots of things on TikTok at the moment about how faceless social media content creation is a thing. So you don't even have to show your face. And if you don't want to do things like that, even have a look around your house and are there things you could sell on eBay, on Vinted. If you make money like that, be intentional with where it goes. Don't just buy loads more stuff from Vinted because you've just sold some, because that doesn't help you at all. Well, it might make you feel good briefly, but if you sell loads of things on Vinted, withdraw the money and put it into your pots where you want to do it. Be intentional with your money. So these are 7 tips that I hope help you to think about how to live below your means, especially if you earn what is considered a good income but still can't quite make the ends meet. And I'm not saying it's easy, and some of this will be really difficult, but do you know that the process itself, the journey itself, is part of that process, and you learn a lot of things along the way. And the more that you're willing to learn about it and accept help and ask for help, and there's so much information on YouTube about how to do all this. There's so many videos on money and mindset. There's so many videos on how to earn extra income. Like, we all, I'll presume we all, seeing as you're sat watching this on YouTube, which requires some kind of internet connection, we have so much information readily available. It's just kind of sitting and actually absorbing that. And I do lots of reading around money and psychology of money, and I find it so interesting. So yeah, but these are some tips on how to hopefully live below your means, especially if you've got an income that suggests that you can. And if you've got any other tips, then feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with what I've said? Let me know what you think down below. I love reading conversations that other people have in the comments of my videos, because people are so kind to each other about helping. Not always. I do get comments at the moment where people are unkind, and yeah, let's not do that. We're all human at the end of the day. But there are conversations where people are helping and suggesting things that are absolutely wonderful, so thank you for that. And if you are new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and makes my channel grow. And yeah, I hope you really liked the video, and I will see you again very soon.